My brothers and sisters, I did not come here to entertain you with the poetry of revolution. I came to awaken the lion that sleeps in the heart of Africa. We have begged long enough, and in our begging we have traded away our dignity, our destiny, and our divine right to rule ourselves. But I say, no more crawling before those who plundered us. No more kneeling before powers who never intended to see us rise. The time has come to stand, to build, and to become the architects of our own future. We are not the children of weakness. We are the descendants of warriors, kings, queens, and inventors. The soil we walk on is soaked in the blood of those who died for freedom. Shall we now live on our knees while our ancestors cry from the grave? No, the time for action is now. The time for dignity is now. The time to stop begging and start building is now. Dignity is not a gift that comes from the pockets of others. It is a choice, a decision, and a sacred duty to one's self, to one's people, and to one's history. When a nation loses its dignity, it loses its identity, and when identity is lost, the people become easy to manipulate, easy to control, easy to beg. They are taught to smile in the face of oppression and to thank those who exploit them. They are conditioned to believe that aid is a blessing when, in truth, it is often a tool of submission. My brothers and sisters, the world does not respect beggars. It pities them, manages them, and ultimately ignores them. But it fears the one who stands in dignity, who refuses to bow, who refuses to sell their soul for a bowl of lentils. A nation that stretches out its hand without purpose, without plan, and without principle is a nation that has already surrendered its future. The first sign of true independence is not a flag, not an anthem, not a constitution. It is dignity. It is that spiritual fire that burns in the heart of a people who say, we may be poor in materials, but we shall not be poor in pride. We may lack resources, but we shall not lack resolve. We may have been broken by history, but we shall not be bent by fear. Those who beg from the same system that once enslaved them are not seeking freedom, they are seeking approval. They are seeking comfort in the hands that once whipped them. But freedom without dignity is an illusion. What good is a flag when your economy is controlled by others? What good is a president when his policies are dictated from foreign capitals? What good is a vote when your voice is echoed only if it serves external interests? This is why I say, if you must choose between poverty in freedom and prosperity in slavery, choose poverty in freedom, and then build from that freedom a foundation stronger than gold. When you teach a child to beg, you kill the instinct to build. When you teach a nation to depend, you kill the courage to stand. And when you teach a people that their future is in the hands of others, you make them slaves who dress in suits, who drive modern cars, and who sit in parliaments, but whose minds remain in chains. The first revolution must be mental. It must begin in the mind. A dignified mind cannot be colonized. A dignified heart cannot be bought. A dignified soul cannot be intimidated. Some will say, but we need help to grow. I say, you do not plant your seeds in your neighbor's farm and expect to reap the harvest. Development that comes with conditions is not development. It is dependence. It is a strategy, a system, a net disguised as a handshake. If you look closely, aid is too often a contract to surrender your rights, your lands, your resources, your sovereignty. The strings attached to foreign money are not made of silk, they are made of steel. And once they wrap around you, it takes generations to break free. But how, you ask, do we begin to reclaim dignity? We begin by refusing to apologize for who we are. We begin by writing our own narratives, educating our children in our languages, celebrating our heroes, and honoring our struggles. We begin by speaking with confidence at the table of nations, not as petitioners, but as partners. Dignity is not loud. It does not need to shout. IT stands calmly, IT speaks truth, and IT walks with purpose. We must rebuild our values. Too many of our people believe that success is dressed in European standards, that worth is measured in Western approval, that respect is bought through conformity. But this is a trap. Dignity says, I am enough. My people are enough. My culture is enough. My history is not a source of shame. He is a source of strength. Our ancestors did not die for U.S. to trade our independence for aid packages. They died for U.S. to stand, to be free, to rule ourselves, to build with our own hands. This is not a call for isolation. This is a call for self-determination. We can cooperate, but never on our knees. We can trade, but never our dignity. We can learn from others, but never forget who we are. And so I say to you today, stand up, stand with dignity. Do not wait for approval to be great. Do not wait for others to fund your freedom. Do not wait for aid to find your worth. Stop begging, build, and walk with the power of a free people. The true power of a nation does not come from the size of its foreign loans or the number of its donors. IT comes from the strength of its people to produce, to create, and to build from within. Economic independence is not a luxury. IT is a necessity for dignity. You cannot claim to be free while your economy is choked by dependence. You cannot speak of sovereignty when you import everything and export nothing of value. You cannot lift your people when your policies serve the interests of others more than your own. Everywhere I look, I see a continent blessed by the Creator, but cursed by the conditioning of its leaders. We sit on gold and we beg for coins. We own oil, but we import fuel. We grow cocoa, but we do not taste our own chocolate. We export raw materials at prices set by others and import finished goods at costs that drain U.S. This is not poverty by nature. This is poverty by design, poverty by dependence, poverty by failure to build economic power from within. We must understand that no nation was built by charity. No country in the world ever rose to greatness by begging others to feed them, to fund them, to save them. The nations that dominate the world today did not rise by waiting for foreigners to fix their fate. They worked, they built, they took risks, they invested in their people, in their land, and in their potential. Why then should we be different? Why must we remain in this cycle of permanent emergencies and temporary solutions? The answer lies not in the hands of the West, the East, or the North. The answer is right here in our fields, in our minds, in our youth, in our markets, in our courage to take responsibility for our economic destiny. We must reclaim our resources, not just in law, but in practice. What is the point of having mineral rights on paper if multinational corporations still control the mines? What is the point of having land when foreign interests decide what grows on IT and where IT is sold? Our farmers are capable, but they lack infrastructure. Our youth are intelligent, but they lack opportunities. Our traders are determined, but they are choked by policies that favor import over local production. This must change. We cannot continue to prioritize foreign goods over our own products. We cannot continue to celebrate imports while our own factories rot with neglect. If we do not buy from our own, we should not complain when our economy belongs to others. Economic power is built through investment not in stock markets in faraway capitals, but in small factories in our towns, in roads that connect our villages, in power that reaches our homes, in skills that train our youth to produce, to innovate, to export with confidence. If we want to be free, then we must create. If we want to be respected, then we must produce. If we want to lead, then we must build an economy that feeds our people and funds our future. The youth cannot be job seekers forever. They must be job creators, but to do that, they need to be given more than hope. They need access to credit, to land, to education that empowers, not education that conditions them to serve foreign companies. They need leaders who invest in local industries, who support local entrepreneurs, who make policies that reward effort, innovation, and production. If we continue to export raw talent and import cheap products, then we will remain poor even when our potential overflows. The time has come to reverse the flow. Let U.S. build factories that process our resources before they leave our shores. Let U.S. establish trade between ourselves across regions, across countries, across cultures, so that the wealth of our continent no longer flows outward but circulates within. We must support African products, African brands, African markets, and African labor. We must not apologize for putting ourselves first. Every strong nation in the world does so. The world will not open doors for U.S. out of kindness. They will do so only when our economy gives U.S. a voice they cannot ignore. Until we build from within, we will continue to be treated as clients, not as partners. Until we create our own wealth, we will continue to be controlled through debt, through dependence, and through desperation. And so I say to you, build, produce, create, innovate, trade, invest in your people, believe in your economy, reject the beggar's bowl and pick up the tools of nation building. Let the world see that we are not a continent of dependence, we are a people of destiny. The path to power begins when we decide to stand on our own feet and build our nation from within. A nation cannot rise when its leaders are falling over themselves to serve foreign interests. When a man or woman is elected to lead a people, they carry the burden of a generation's hopes, their struggles, their blood, their dignity. Leadership is not an opportunity to trade national pride for personal gain. IT is a sacred mandate to defend the soul of a people. But today, in too many places, we do not have leaders, we have brokers. Men who stand on podiums to speak of justice, but who kneel behind closed doors to sign away the future for briefcases full of money. We have leaders who sell land to strangers while their people sleep without shelter, who auction off mineral rights while their children dig in the mud for scraps, who speak of sovereignty while reading speeches written in foreign capitals. This is not leadership. This is a betrayal of the highest order. True leaders do not sell, they serve. They do not bow to those who once enslaved you, as they stand eye to eye and speak on behalf of their people with courage. They do not ask, what will the donor say? They ask, what will history say if I fail to protect my people? A leader who cannot defend his nation's resources is not a leader, he is a middleman between the poverty of his people and the profit of the powerful. A leader who signs contracts that drain the land and leave nothing for the people is not a visionary, he is a collaborator in the plundering of his own motherland. My brothers and sisters, if a leader cannot drink the same water as his people, cannot sleep under the same roof, cannot send his children to the same schools, then that leader is out of touch. A nation cannot be built from air-conditioned boardrooms while the people sweat in darkness. Development must be rooted in sacrifice, and that sacrifice must begin with the ones who hold power. Do not tell me of national progress when your palace grows while the village shrinks. Do not tell me of investor confidence when your farmers cannot feed their children. Do not tell me of diplomatic partnerships when your youth risk their lives in the ocean because they have no opportunities at home. The role of leadership is to rebuild the trust that colonialism destroyed, to restore the dignity that poverty has eroded, to fight for economic justice, for education, for health, for infrastructure, for industry. Leadership is not a title, it is a lifestyle of service. The one who leads must eat last, not first. They must build before they boast. They must listen more than they speak. Because when a people see that their leaders care, they rise to defend their nation. They rise to work, they rise to sacrifice, but when leaders sell them out, the people lose faith, and when a people lose faith in their government, they lose hope in their future. And this is why today, across our land, you find a dangerous silence, not the silence of peace, but the silence of despair. The youth do not speak because they have been silenced by lies. The elders do not speak because they have seen this story before. But I tell you, we cannot afford to be silent any longer. If we are to build a future, we must demand accountability from our leaders. We must demand that they stand for something greater than their own pockets. That they defend the interests of our nations, our resources, our children, our culture. To our leaders, I say this: if you do not have the courage to stand for your people, then you have no right to speak on their behalf. If you fear the loss of position more than the loss of your nation's future, then you are unfit to govern. And if you cannot say no to those who seek to dominate your economy, your lands, your destiny, then you do not deserve the title of leader. We need men and women of integrity, leaders who sleep among their people, who plan for generations, not for election cycles, who rise above tribes, above regions, above religions, and speak only in the name of the nation. And to the people I say, never fear to hold your leaders accountable. Never fear to ask where the minerals go, where the aid money goes, where the contracts go. Because a government that cannot answer to its people is a government that no longer serves them. You have a right to demand, a right to question, a right to know, because this land does not belong to the few who sign agreements behind closed doors. IT belongs to the many who suffer in silence. And until our leaders learn to serve with honor and sacrifice, our nation will remain in the shadows of those who once enslaved us. But the day we rise with righteous leadership, no force on earth will be able to deny us our place at the table of power. When a people forget who they are, they become easy to control. When a nation loses its culture, its languages, its traditions, and its history, IT loses its identity. And a people without identity will always look to others for approval, for direction, and for value. This is why reclaiming our cultural pride is not an option. IT is an urgent necessity. If we do not define ourselves, others will continue to define us. If we do not celebrate our own heroes, our own geniuses, our own visionaries, then our children will grow up praising the oppressors who once chained our ancestors. Look around you. Everything from our education to our entertainment is shaped by systems that do not reflect who we are. We study textbooks that praise invaders and ignore our kings, our scholars, our inventors. We watch films that mock our traditions and worship foreign images. Our children learn to speak fluently in colonial languages, but cannot hold a sentence in their mother tongues. This is not development, this is erasure. This is mental colonization disguised as modernity, and until we reverse this trend, we will never truly be free. Freedom is not just about borders and flags. IT is about the mind. If you bow in your mind, then IT does not matter how tall you stand physically. We must raise a generation that walks with pride because they know their roots. A generation that does not apologize for being African, that does not envy others because they know their own worth. This pride cannot come from speeches. IT must come from education, from art, from history, from family, from the stories we tell and the values we teach. If you tell a child every day that they are weak, they will grow up believing IT. If you tell them they come from nothing, they will never fight for something. But if you show them their heritage, the monuments we built, the science we discovered, the kingdoms we ruled, the wisdom we passed, then they will walk into the world with confidence. And confidence is the foundation of power, because a confident people do not beg. They do not ask permission to exist. They do not copy, they create. Our culture is our soul. IT is in the way we dress, the way we dance, the way we speak, the way we gather, the way we mourn, the way we celebrate. And if we allow our culture to be replaced, we are allowing our soul to be stolen. You cannot build a strong nation on a foundation that does not belong to you. A house built on someone else's blueprint will never truly feel like home. This is why we must invest in our own narratives, support our own artists, celebrate our own festivals, learn our own languages, honor our elders who hold the wisdom of ages past. But I know that this is not easy. We live in a world that tells us that to be modern, you must be Western, that to be intelligent, you must speak English or French or Portuguese, that to be progressive, you must wear a suit and tie and dismiss your traditions as backward. But this is a lie. You can be modern and still be rooted in your culture. You can embrace technology and still respect your ancestors. You can study global ideas while standing firmly in your identity. Cultural pride does not mean rejecting others. IT means loving yourself enough not to be erased. IT means building a future that is authentic, that is original, that is ours. Because if our youth do not see value in being African, they will continue to run from IT. And if they run from IT, who will stay to build IT, who will protect our languages, our customs, our stories, our values, who will stand as the custodians of our legacy, we must create systems that elevate African identity. That include our history in our curriculum, that celebrate local heroes in our schools, that make room for our art, our music, our dress, our faiths in the public sphere. Because this is how you raise a people who do not beg you, raise a people who know who they are. And a people who know who they are cannot be manipulated, cannot be shamed, cannot be controlled. So I say to you, teach your children their history, speak your language with pride, defend your traditions. Invest in your culture, because a strong nation is not just economically independent or politically free. He is culturally proud, and until we embrace our identity without shame, we will never truly build a nation worthy of our ancestors' sacrifice and our children's future.